This week's reading comes from The Basics of Social Research by Earl Babbie, Chapter 3, The Ethics and Politics of Social Research, pages 61 to 88. This chapter covers the differences between ethical and political social research, ethics of social research, which presents some of the broadly agreed on norms describing what's ethical in research and what's not, and analyzes social research projects that were crushed or nearly crushed by political considerations. Political considerations in research are subtle, ambiguous, and arguable. Ethical issues in social research. Ethics is defined typically associated with morality. Both deal with what's right versus what's wrong. Source of distinctions include religions, political ideologies, or the pragmatic observation. Webster's New World Dictionary defines ethical as conforming to the standard of conduct of a given profession or group. Voluntary participation deals with social research requires that people reveal personal information about themselves. This then requires that this information be revealed to strangers. The norm of voluntary participation goes directly against several scientific conditions. The scientific goal of generalizability is threatened if the experimental subjects or survey respondents are all the kinds of people who willingly participate in such things. The ethical issue of no harm participants. The need for norms against harming subjects has been dramatized by horrendous violations by medical researchers. For example, medical experimentation on prisoners of war by Nazi researchers in World War II, and the Tuskegee syphilis experiments, which prevented African Americans from treatment because researchers wanted to observe the full progression of the disease. The violation forced the creation of the 1974 National Research Act, which created the National Commission for the Protection of Human Subjects of Biomedical and Behavioral Research. The three key principles included respect for person, beneficence, and justice. The Act also established a requirement for institutional review boards, which monitored the compliance with ethical standards in research involving human research. This established the concept of informed consent. Subjects must base their voluntary participation in research projects on a full understanding of the possible risk involved. Anonymity and confidentiality. Anonymity guaranteed in research project when neither the researchers nor the readers of the findings can identify a given response with a given respondent. For example, a mail survey in which nothing can identify the respondent when the questionnaire arrives at the research office. Confidentiality was a research project guarantees confidentiality when the researcher can identify a given person's responses but promises not to do so publicly. For example, an interview survey, the researchers could make public the income reported by a given respondent, but they assure the respondent that this will not be done. The ethical issue of deception. It's always useful to identify yourself as a researcher to those you want to identify. Deceiving people is unethical. Deception within social research needs to be justified by compelling scientific or administrative concerns. Following an experiment, debriefing, or interviewing subjects to learn about their experience of participation and to inform them of any unrevealed problems. Analysis and reporting. Researchers have ethical obligations to their colleagues in the scientific community. Science progresses through honesty and openness. Ego defenses and deception retarded. Researchers can best serve their peers by telling the truth about all the pitfalls and problems they've experienced. Simple carelessness or sloppiness is an unethical problem. Institutional review boards. Any agency wishing to receive federal research support must establish an institutional review board. IRBs are a panel of faculty who review all research proposals involving human subjects so that they can guarantee that the subject's rights and interest will be protected. The major responsibility is to ensure that the risks faced by human participants in research are minimal. The politics of social research. Ethics of social research deal with the methods employed. Political issues tend to center on the substance and use of research. For example, the Milgram experiments of obedience. The ethical objection to this is the methods harm the subject. The political objection is obedience is not a suitable topic for study because we should not tinker with people's willingness to follow orders from higher authority. What do you mean? The second distinction between ethical and political social research is that there are no formal codes of accepted political conduct. For example, specific guidelines for not harming subjects clearly relate to the U.S. protection of civil liberties. No one has developed a set of political norms that all social researchers accept. Politics with a little p. Political ideologies often confound social research. The more personal politics of social research runs far deeper still. Social research in relation to contested social issues simply cannot remain antiseptically objective. Politics and perspective. Science is not untouched by politics. The intrusion of politics and related ideologies is not unique to social research. The natural sciences have experienced and continue to experience similar situations. Science proceeds in the midst of political controversy and hostility. Ideology disputes do not bring science to a halt, but make it challenging and exciting.